Hey YouTube, it's Avis. This video is pretty long overdue. This is the conclusion of tarot and poetry. So to my horror, I looked at my bookshelf and I realized I don't have Ben and Bell Wynn's tarot book anymore. I'm just destroyed. I'm still looking at my bookshelf like, where did it go? It must have, I don't know, I must have lost it in one of my moves. Luckily, we have the internet and we can look up just, a basic interpretation of what the Fool card is supposed to be. So here we are at Biddy Tarot. The Fool represents beginnings, innocence, spontaneity, and a free spirit. And if you read things reversed, it's holding back, recklessness, and risk-taking. That's kind of weird. We'll get back to that risk-taking. But anyways, the Fool is numbered 0, the number of unlimited potential, and so does not have a specific place in the sequence of tarot cards. The Fool can be placed either at the beginning of the major arcana or at the end. Hey, we're sort of doing that right now. It's the 0 card beginning at the end of the series. Anyways, the Fool, the major arcana is often considered the Fool's journey through life, and as such, he is ever present and therefore needs no number. So I have a couple of different decks, and I think there's interesting things to point out whenever we look at the different ways the Fool is depicted. The first one, we're gonna go, well, no, the Rider-Waite deck is the first chronological depiction of the Fool. Everybody knows this card. Everybody knows what it looks like. It is a young man or person, blithely wandering, about to step off a cliff. There's a dog yapping at him. Maybe it's warning him. Maybe it's just biting its ankles. Maybe that's the reason why he's going to go off the cliff. But it doesn't look like he's very concerned. He's just blithe. He's happy. He's chill. He's holding a flower and doesn't see where he's going. Next in our chronological order of Fool tarot cards that I've got, we've got this antique. 20th Century Tarot. This was written in 1970. It's literally a tiny little white book, and the cards are kind of dark sometimes, but this is the Fool from 20th Century Tarot. It's literally a Fool. The interpretation from 1970 is pretty interesting. Let's see what it says. The Fool represents the unsatisfied inner man who is searching for life of sensual pleasure and lust, a life of folly, delirium, and anarchy. Reversed, negligence, apathy, and the despair that comes from the confrontation with nothingness. That's a pretty philosophical take for the Fool, nothingness. Don't know if you know, but there's this gigantic branch of philosophy called metaphysics, and it talks about nothingness. It talks about being, existence, but it also talks about the absence of that. If ethics, I'm absolutely ripping off Philosophy Tube right now, by the way. Go watch that, it's incredible. If ethics is how am I a good driver, and aesthetics is what makes a car look good, metaphysics is what is the car. What are the nuts and bolts and gears and things that make a car, but nothingness is, it's not even part of the car. It's like, what is a road? Why is there a car, and why do we have them, and why can't we just be, again, weird, strange philosophical questions about nothingness. But we're not talking about nothingness, we're talking about the Fool in tarot and poetry. I have a few other depictions of the Fool. These two depictions of the Fool are pretty neat because they don't have a face. So a pretty obvious explanation of that would be anyone can be the Fool. The lack of a face means that anyone can situate themselves within the Fool, which is going to be touched upon in just a minute. I have one more tarot card to show you. So I've reviewed this tarot deck before. This is straight up the tarot deck for Mage the Awakening, a tabletop role-playing game by White Wolf. And I also have Keys to the Supernal Tarot. It is a gaming supplement book with story hooks involving the tarot. And what they have to say about it is, the Fool is the first step on the long journey, the first kiss from a new lover, the first mistake, the first great triumph, the first footfalls into the office of a new career, or the first fumbling steps of a child. The Fool is the card of beginnings. Okay, so we've talked about a couple of different interpretations of the Fool. It's the beginning, it's foolishness, recklessness, and that's what I want to explore. Why is the Fool always associated with beginnings, and why do we view ourselves as the Fool in the journey of the Fool through the major arcana? I'm going to warn to guess that no one likes being called a fool. Because what is a fool? A fool is unprepared. A fool is foolish. A fool is ignorant. A fool is dumb. And I mean, if I'm the Fool, I think I'm prepared. I think I'm ready-ish sometimes, most of the time. I don't like being unprepared. I don't like being not ready. And I certainly don't like being called a fool. And I don't think you do either. So, yes, humility is all well and good. But, like, I'm smart, guys. And so are you. Everyone is the expert on their life. And the fact that we're situating ourselves with a fool, an idea of a person who is not ready, who is unprepared, who is about to step off a cliff, like, what? No, I don't want to be a fool. I don't want to be that person. And is this speaking to, like, hubris? And is this me, like, you know, in denial of my own foolishness? No, I don't think anyone willingly wants to say that they are a fool, that they are unprepared, that they are not ready. Now, I know a lot of you, well, maybe not a lot, but maybe someone out there, you, right there, are saying, Avis, that's not what the Fool is about. The Fool is just about beginnings. It's about, you know, being a person in the world, and you've got a journey in front of you, and you may not know what to do, but you're doing it anyway. Then why do we call a fool a person who is stupid? They're doing something, they think it might be bad, but they do it anyway. Like they're unprepared, but they're doing it anyway. A courageous person knows that something might be bad. They might not be prepared, but they have the courage to do it anyway. What's going on with that? There's a fool, there's a courageous person, but they're different. A courageous person isn't a fool. I mean, they can be both, but we still value a courageous person, like a firefighter rushing into a burning building to save a family. They don't know if they're going to make it out alive, but they're doing it anyway. A fool might have been playing with matches, and maybe they knew that the house might catch on fire, but they did it anyway. We're making a value judgment about two radically different people. So why are we calling the Fool, which is supposed to be us, the Fool represents you, I, we, the journey through life, why is it the Fool? Why are we calling ourselves foolish? I think if we return back to the idea of like nothingness, of the concept that the Fool is the zero card and it represents nothing, but it also represents everything. It can start at the beginning or at the end. It can weave its way through anything. So does that mean the Fool's number is infinity? What does it mean if we assign ourselves to a zero card, nothing, but also everything? And then there's like philosophy, Dasein, metaphysics. What does it mean to rest and reside in nothingness on this experience of life, existence, this journey? I know I'm just sounding like I'm spouting words, and I am. But the Fool is a really heavy card because the Fool represents us, and it also represents ambiguity. It represents uncertainty. And I do not like uncertainty. I want to be prepared. I want to be ready for this journey. I want to be ready for things that life throws at me. And I'm trying so hard to be ready, but sometimes things just happen anyways that I don't expect. And that amount of unexpectedness, where we engage with that ambiguity and uncertainty, that is the area, the dwelling place, the mindset of the fool. So let me read you a poem real quick about the fool, and then I'll have just a few other notes about the fool, and then we'll continue the journey on from there. We'll figure out what we're gonna do next. We'll prepare ourselves for what's happening next. Who knows? So the knee-jerk reaction poem that I picked out was Wisława Ziembroska's Life While You Wait, but I think I might have read that poem for like The World or something, and no, I did not go through my old YouTube videos to see which one. But it's an incredible poem. I'm going to leave a link in the description below. Please go read it. It's beautiful. It's a great poem. But instead, I've got this eensy tiny little book. It's a collection of poetry by Rachel Pollack, and she's done a lot of stuff with tarot and paganism and Wicca and the goddess movement, and she's written 78 Degrees of Wisdom, The Body of the Goddess, The Tarot of Perfection. She's legit, you know. And she's also a really great poet. And for The Fool, I'm going to read her poem, Fool. Out of nothing comes magic. Out of magic comes silence. Out of silence comes passion. Out of passion comes the flow of earth between heaven and birth. Tight in a New York apartment, on chairs and pillows and piano bench, 25 stories over 2nd Avenue, in sight of a gold-domed church. With couch and plants and chairs and keys scented with tobacco from pipe ceremonies and cigarettes, we sat, squeezed together. 18 of us, the moon's number, Our Lady of Lunacy, the Fool's mistress. The last class in an herbalist's home, and we talked about the beginning, the breath, the opening, the fool. We talked of early decks, of foo, madness, how the bright, beautiful boy at the birth of the world was once a schizophrenic homeless guy bitten by cats, desolation without end. We talked of emptiness, of nothing, of the open mouth of Aleph, silent letter, Cantor's infinity, Georges' window to everything, the breath before the thunder. We remembered fool stories, ancient and modern, our own and others, and we talked of how he lures us and agreed we could never live that way. A dance without a self, then it ended. And I could see the hermit's hourglass reminding me the train schedule for country girls going home are ruled by emperors with no elastic fool of time. Down in the street, 34th and 2nd, 5 lanes of traffic pushing west, and across the lanes, a lone taxi waiting for green medallion, 7022, 7, the chariot, 0, the fool, 22, the whole story. My taxi, and soon it would turn and vanish. And so I ran into the road. Halfway across, I heard the screams, wordless sounds of fear, amazement, 5 lanes of cars and trucks, and one tall woman, surprised as anyone. No cars stopped or even tried. No shrill brakes, no shouts or horns. This was New York. They just kept going. And so did I. All the way across 34th Street to my fool's chariot, and a quiet ride to the Emperor's train. Thanks, Rachel Pollack. Anyways. So what does that poem mean? What does it reference? What does it signify? And how is it related to the Fool? So we've talked about the Fool representing beginnings and representing uncertainty and not knowing. In the poem, she's in a class. She's preparing herself. She's teaching herself. She is learning things from other people. She is ready to go, and then she realizes, oh shit, I have to get going right now. And she leaves the apartment and she runs into traffic. Like, that's how urgent the journey is. And she has to hope that it works out. No amount of preparing oneself is going to protect you from a car coming to hit you. No amount of preparation is going to prepare you for the fact that, oh shit, I have to go right now, and oh fuck, there's a car, it's going to hit me. What do? You just have to keep going, you know? And so I don't think that the Fool represents foolishness in the sense that you're an idiot. It represents the ability to engage with the fact that, like, you're not stupid. You have prepared. You are ready. But life comes at you, and sometimes you just have to be okay with ambiguity, with uncertainty, with sort of dwelling in nothingness of that zero card, and being okay with uncertainty. Like, sometimes, no matter how much you think you know something, you eventually have to leave. You have to make a major decision for your life, and you don't know how it's going to turn out. Shucks. That really sucks. But you have to keep going. I mean, you don't know what it's like if you're going to leave your partner, or start a new job, or move into a new apartment. So even though you're prepared, you know, you never know what's coming down the lane in the traffic to come hit you, and you just have to keep going. And the beauty of the Fool is, if we are the Fool, you know, we're not foolish. Well, sometimes we are, but yeah, the Fool can be courageous, because the Fool doesn't know what's going to happen. It's beginning. It's new. And we make it through traffic. We make it through the busy street because we're okay with and comfortable with the fact that we don't know what's going to happen, and we're doing it anyway. Yeah, this has been a really weird, emotional, coincidental, serendipitous moment for me. I wasn't planning on making this video until I woke up, and I was like, sure, okay, yeah, I'll read a poem, I'll talk about a tarot card. And instead I learned a lot about myself and how I situate myself in the world. And, you know, some idiot once said, I am wise because I know nothing. Knowing that you don't know and being comfortable with that, sitting with that emotion, sitting with that icky, strange, gross feeling, that is the strength of the Fool. You might call that shadow work, you might call that therapy, you might call that any number of things, but the energy of the Fool is a willingness to dwell with uncertainty, and knowing that that can be incredibly scary and terrifying, but knowing that you have to keep on going and doing it anyway. And whether that's out of courage or out of necessity or out of just foolishness, you do it anyway. So yeah, this is the end of tarot and poetry, at least the major arcana. Yeah, I could string this series out longer if you wanted to and talk about, I don't know, the suits, the minor arcana, the court cards as archetypes, because it's so Jungian and so cool. But yeah, I don't know, let me know what you think about the Fool, about the poem, about what you would like to see in the future. If my ramblings and waxing poetic and harebrained philosophy is interesting or entertaining to you, yeah, just let me know, please. I want to hear your feedback. I like the feeling it gives me when I make a video. I don't always know what's going to happen, but I do it anyway, much like the Fool. So I hope you are well, and as always, merry meet, merry part, and merry meet again.